the IRS announces the tax deadline will be pushed back until May amid lots and lots of changes in the past year. Chase Wilsey of Wilsey Asset Management has 5 items that you need to be aware of this year. Chase, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad that we mentioned that. Oh, there's a lot of changes. Yeah, you think? Let's start with those stimulus checks. People do not have to declare them on their taxes, or do they?
Correct, yes. So, I mean, the thing that you have to look at here is we did just get another stimulus package. So, you know, you're getting another, what is it, $1,800 or $1,400 in that stimulus package. So that is not part of your 2020 taxes. What we're looking at and talking about here is the $1,200 and the $600 that people received in stimulus last year. That is actually what we're looking at as a tax credit. So don't worry about, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that. That's not true. The other thing I did want to point out is I do know some people. They never got their stimulus checks.
Really?
They just kind of got, I'm going to say, lost in the wash there. There's a lot that went out there. So what happens? Make sure on your taxes that you notify your tax preparer or you know, TurboTax, whatever you're using, that you did not get one of those stimuluses, because that should be actually a tax credit for you that you should receive as part of a refund going forward.
Okay. A lot of businesses sadly had to close up shop either permanently or temporarily. What do they need to know about unemployment benefits? Because things kind of got a little murky, a little confusing this year because of that.
Yeah, I mean, unemployment benefits, obviously we saw them kind of supercharged last year. We're going to see them supercharged again this year. What you need to know is most of the time, unemployment benefits are actually taxable at the federal level. And at the state level, over half the states do actually levy state income taxes on unemployment benefits. I'll tell you, California is not one of those states, so don't worry about paying income tax in California. But what the federal government has now declared in that last stimulus package as well is that up to $10,200 in unemployment benefits, you know, barring some income limitations, is actually tax-free. So when you're filing your taxes, if you meet those income thresholds, $10,200, you're good. You don't owe taxes on that. And then that is a good sign, because less than 40% of people actually withheld taxes on those unemployment benefits. So I think it's going to be a saving grace for a lot of people. But I will say, if you got more than $10,200, you did not withhold any of that money, be careful, because you might have a tax bill. Also, if you already did file your taxes, you may need to amend them, because that's going to have an issue with what you're actually owed on your tax refund there. And as you just said, with the IRS extending the deadline, I'd be a little bit patient if you did get unemployment benefits to make sure it is baked into the equation that the TurboTax and your tax preparer understands.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think a lot of people, given the circumstances of the past year, didn't do that withholding that you talked about. Let's talk about for those who had to dip in their retirement. A lot of people did over the past year, some to keep their businesses afloat, some just to keep the power on. They dipped into that retirement. What then?
Yeah, so this is another interesting provision that the government came out with here, and you could withdraw up to $100,000 from, you know, 401k, your IRA. Most of the time, if you're under 59.5, there's a 10% penalty. They did wipe that out. Now, the thing that you have to understand is that whatever you withdrew, that is still actually taxable to you. But what the IRS is allowing is they're allowing you to spread out that tax over 3 years, and if you repay that amount within 3 years, that is forgiven as well. So just making sure you're on the same page with your tax accountant there is going to be very, very important, so you're not hit with unnecessary taxes.
A lot of people ended up working from home. That's going to play a role too, because suddenly your kid's room, perhaps, or wherever, your dining room, is tax deductible. Or how does that work in terms of when you're doing your taxes and you ended up working from home for the past 12, 13 months?
You know, remote work, I think, it's going to be complicated. It's something that was very, very common in the last year. And I am strongly recommending people, if you did remote work this last year, go speak with a tax professional, because it is very complicated. As you said, you might be able to deduct some items that you normally would not be able to. The other issue is, if you did work in other states, well, now you actually may have to file tax returns in other states. You might have to pay taxes there, or you may not have to pay taxes there, because a state cannot have double taxation. You know, California and Arizona can't tax the same income. They would have to kind of work together and see, well, who owes what? So it's going to be a very, very complicated picture for people, and that's why I'm strongly recommending go speak to a tax professional there, because it is could be a complete mess for people, and you could have potential penalties down the road.
Oh boy. Okay. Lastly, if you donated to charitable causes, what do you write down this year? Is it anything different than in years past?
Yeah, so this is kind of an exciting one. I mean, in years past, most of the time you have to itemize to actually get any type of charitable deduction. But what they have allowed for 2020 is $300 above the line. So if you gave, $300 to charity, make sure you incorporate that, even if you take the standard deduction, or most of the time that's not allowable. So notify your taxpayer, notify TurboTax, yes, I did give to charity. Here's the amount. That'll actually be a nice deduction for you that normally doesn't occur.
Oh boy. Here's my thing. I'm glad we have you. I'm glad I have my CPA. People who can help, who understand all this stuff, because it's a lot this past year. Chase Wilsey, we thank you as always for the expertise.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.